All right, so one of the things that I like to do is I like to focus on the tiny little things, because I found that if you focus on tiny little issues, that eventually you accidentally prepare yourself for bigger events, right? If you're able to take all these tiny little details and figure out the tiny little details, the bigger problems become at least easier, if not solved, much easier to solve. And so in today's video, I want to talk about 5 little things that can make your life a lot better, a lot easier, a lot more efficient. And the main takeaway I want from this is that not only are these things going to be helpful and make you think outside the box, but to focus on the little things. Not everything is a big doomsday event. Not everything is going to be an end of the world situation, right? And so one of the things that I want to talk about, the first thing is floss. A lot of people that focus on self-sufficiency and self-reliance and personal preparedness, they never talk about floss. They don't talk about stockpiling floss. And these are flossers, these are plackers. The reason I like these is because it's floss and a toothpick. And so if you got something in your teeth, you can grab one of these, get it out. Also, it's easier to floss with these than actual floss, in my opinion. So this is what I use. I have a couple of these in storage, and so that I can have them when I need them. And the little event that could take place is when you're in between jobs. A lot of times your old insurance stops because you don't work there anymore, and then you have to wait for enrollment at the new position. And so there's a gap in between your dental insurance, or some places don't even offer dental insurance at all. And so those bills can be huge. A little bit of maintenance can prevent that bill from happening. And again, if a larger event takes place, if I can't go to the dentist because there's some event taking place, in 2020 there was a global pandemic and a lot of people didn't want to go to the dentist. They didn't really want to leave their homes. And so being able to take care of your teeth from home, having what you need to cater to that, means that you not only have what you need when you need it, but also you're not getting the cavities, you're not getting the toothaches, you're taking care of what needs to be taken care of. This, of course, I'm talking about floss because no one talks about floss, but toothpaste, toothbrushes, these are all things that you should have on hand as well. And the reason it's so important is because if I hurt my knee, I can usually prop up pillows or bend it in a certain way. There's something I can do to kind of make that pain as minimal as possible, right? When your tooth hurts and it's bugging you, it bugs you all day, every day, all night, every night until you get it fixed. Like there's nothing you can do. There's no position you can sit in. There's no pillows. There's nothing you can do. That pain is just consistent for a very long time, and it can drive you crazy. And so make sure that you are taking care of your teeth. Make sure you have what you need to take care of your teeth on you at all times. Another thing that goes with that is soap, right? Not just bar soap, but shampoo, body wash, dish detergent, laundry detergent. I think we've all had that feeling, right? Where they're big dinner and the kitchen's a mess, and you go and you do all your dishes and everything's clean, and you wipe the counters down and everything is nice and clean. You feel good, right? You feel good inside that environment. You feel good about yourself. Everything is better inside of a clean environment. Everything makes you kind of feel healthier. Everything kind of makes you feel happier. Being in a clean environment is very important. The other thing is simply keeping yourself clean can prevent chafing, meaning that you don't have to deal with that issue. The other thing is cuts and scrapes and scratches, blisters. These are all things from doing things you're not accustomed to doing all of the time, right? So if an event takes place, you're going to be doing things that you're not used to doing all of the time, and it's going to lead to accidents or blisters. All of those blisters and cuts and everything need to be kept clean. And so having soap on hand that you can use that you can have access to no matter what situation presents itself can really make the difference between making it through a situation and making the best of the situation. So I highly recommend having a bunch of different kinds of soap. When it goes on sale, just buy 2 instead of 1, right? If there's a half off deal, buy 2, put 1 in storage, and then just don't use that one. Just keep building up a storage as you go. Third thing, that's a train if you heard the train, but third thing, clothes. You need to be able to stay warm in the winter. You need to be able to stay cool in the summer. This right here is a fishing shirt. It is SPF 50. That's marketing, okay? Everybody has had a farmer's tan, right? Your t-shirt blocks the sun, so your arms get tan and your body doesn't because of your t-shirt or your tank top or whatever it is. This is no different than that, okay? The only difference between this shirt and a t-shirt, or even this shirt that I'm wearing right now, this is a long sleeve shirt, and so it has thumb holes so you can protect the back of your hands. It has a hood so you can protect the back of your neck and your ears, and so it is bigger than a t-shirt, and it is way, way, way cooler than what I'm wearing right here. If you buy a long sleeve t-shirt, it's going to be a lot warmer inside of that long sleeve t-shirt than it is in this. This is very, very thin. It feels like you're not wearing anything at all, and you still get that sun protection, right? And so you can still do what you need to do. And a lot of times, like for me, I don't have a lot of sunblock, right? And even if I do, I have sunblock, but I always forget it. And so keeping this inside my vehicle means that if it's hot, if I'm going to be doing something and I'm going to be out in the sun for a long time, I only am ghost white or burnt red. So my only 2 options in life. And so I prefer to be ghost white because burnt red, again, sucks. It's a pain that just is persistent and there's nothing you can do about it. I really hate sunburn. So having this inside the vehicle means that whatever I'm doing, I can throw this on and I have sun protection without making myself hotter and even more miserable. In the winter, you need sweatshirts, you need hoodies, you need jackets, you need snow pants, you need boots. Having the right equipment, having the right clothing means that you can do what needs to be done comfortably, right? Instead of making it through the situation, you can make the best of the situation. And it all starts with having a good clothing options that can get you through without being miserable. Okay? So what are we on now? The fourth thing is, now this is overkill, you don't need this, but this is an OBD2 code reader. This isn't a code reader, this is a scan tool, but you don't need nothing this big. Just something where you can get the codes off of your vehicle. When your check engine light comes on, you want to be able to plug it in. The other day I just replaced a VVT solenoid in my truck. It's a variable valve timing solenoid. It's because of this, right? And the thing is when you plug in an OBD2 code reader and you read the codes, sometimes it's just a sensor, right? There's nothing wrong with your vehicle, nothing. Nothing wrong with it. It's just the sensor that tells you whether something is right or wrong. That sensor's bad. Everything is still right. It's just the sensor that tells you if it is or isn't is bad. And so there's no point in swapping that out immediately, right? Save up some money, make sure that you can afford it. Once you can afford it, maybe swap out that sensor. Or if it's not bothering you at all, if it's an older vehicle that's on its way out anyway, maybe you just let it be, you know what I mean? But when you have a variable valve timing solenoid out, right, you want to change that right away. It adjusts the timing of your camshaft, and so you want to make sure that you're taking care of that right away. And I knew I needed to take care of it right away because I hooked this up and it told me instantly what the problem was. Now, there is some learning that needs to be done, right? Because it's not going to tell you what the problem is. It's just going to tell you, well, how do I phrase it? It'll tell you what the problem is, but it won't tell you why it's being caused, right? It'll tell you what the problem is, but it won't tell you the cause. Such as if there's a misfire on cylinder 4, okay? It'll say, you have a misfire on cylinder 4. And you're like, oh, okay. But it's not going to tell you why. It could be your spark plugs. It could be your fuel injector. It could be a head gasket leak. It could be, there's lots of things that could, your spark plugs. It could be a lot of things that's causing that misfire. It's not going to tell you what the cause is. It's just going to tell you what the problem is. And then it's up to you to understand how to diagnose your vehicle. And when your vehicle's not running right, it could be one of a million things, right? With a scan tool, it takes it and it narrows it down to one small little part of your vehicle so you can really focus in on solving issues, right? And also if you need to solve the issue at all or not. And so the amount of time, money, energy that this thing has saved me is paid for itself 100 times over again. It's one of those things that when I told Caroline I bought one, it's $500. She was not very happy with me. But it was one of those things where I was trying to get more self-sufficient. I want to be a lot more self-reliant. And this is one of the tools that I needed to accomplish that, right? I bought a bunch of tools to stop having to call an electrician. I bought a bunch of tools to stop having to call a plumber. Mechanic was next on the list, and so I bought this for $500, and she was very upset. But this thing has saved us probably thousands of dollars at this point, and she can't live without it now. If something happens to this, she'll probably get on and buy me another one instantly, right? She'll go and she'll find one and she'll buy it instantly because we can't live without this thing anymore because it saves us so much money, saves us so much time. It prevents problems from getting worse. It's just, I have videos on this scan tool. If you're interested, I'll leave them in the description box down below. And I don't, once you have it, you're going to be glad you have it. It seems like one of those things nobody needs, but then once you own it, you're like, how did I live without it? A scan tool is one of those things. The fifth and final thing that no one talks about is math. Math is hard. And most people, it's funny because everybody had a calculator, right? When I was growing up, calculators were the big thing. Every single person had a calculator in a drawer somewhere. Like all of my grandparents, everywhere when you go, there's calculators. This one doesn't even have batteries in it anymore, but calculators were huge, right? And then computers came along. And then less and less people were using calculators and more people were using their computer. Well, then tablets came along and less people had computers and more people had tablets. And then phones became versatile enough to where you could do everything on your phone. So now no one has a tablet, everyone has a phone, and everybody's phone is always dead, right? And so everybody's phone is either dying, needs to be charged, or is charging, or you know what I mean? And so calculator is to even keep track of your inventory, right? How much did we have? How much have we used? How much is left? When we are paying for things like propane, how much is it per gallon? How many gallons do we need? How many gallons can we afford? How many gallons have we gone through? So in order to make it to spring, where it's cheaper, how much do we have to put in there before we can make it to spring to pay the lower price to fill it back up? There's so much math in life that I think people don't realize when you're budgeting and you have your paycheck and you're trying to figure out how you're going to afford taking your vehicle to a mechanic, paying that plumber to undo clogs, right? When you're doing budgets and everything, it's just huge. And one of the things that I like to use is Abacus. So this is a Japanese style abacus. A lot of people know the Western style abacus where it's upright like this and there's 10 beads and you trade the 10 for a 10. And so it's ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, and so on and so forth. And you swap them out. The Chinese version of this has 5 beads on the bottom and 2 on top. So it's the same trade system. This one has 4. And so when you go 4 and then you swap this 5, so you're not touching the same bead over and over and over again. So like if you're using a Western style, you go 10 and then you trade it for a 10 and then you push them all over. And then when you get to 999, you go 100 and then you push all those back and then you push all those back and then you push the 100, right? And so it has a lot less trading, right? It just assumes that you know that after 4 comes 5, that you don't have to trade 5 for a 5. All right, so real quick, you push the button to clear it, and then when you're counting, you go 1, 2, 3, 4. This top one is the 5. So you slide them all down. So you got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10. So this is the ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000, 100,000, million, 10 million, 100 million, so on and so forth. And you just keep counting. And then when you get to 10 quadrillion, right, you just 10 quadrillion. It's pretty simple. And so if you have a number and you want to subtract, you can just use the beads to subtract said number. And if you want to add, you just add more beads. And so it becomes very simple. Once you learn the basics on how to trade ones for 5s and 5s for 10s, once you learn how to trade the numbers or break them down, it becomes a very efficient way of doing math with large numbers. So I like abacus. I have this one and I also have this bigger one. This bigger one's a little bit easier to use. You can use this for addition, subtraction, multiplication, dividing. Once you learn how to use it, it becomes pretty easy to use and it helps you keep track of things. And it doesn't need batteries. It doesn't need batteries. It doesn't need a screen that can go out on you. It doesn't need anything, right? And so having an abacus, whether it's a Japanese style or a Western style, it's nice to just being able to do math without a phone, without your calculator that you probably don't even own anymore, without wasting the battery on your phone. Being able to do math is important. And so with that being said, in the description box down below, how important do you think an abacus really is? There's so many times where you need math in your day and you pull out your phone, and I don't think people realize how much that calculator app is actually being used. And so in the comment section down below, I want to know, do you think that in a personal preparedness doomsday kit, you should have some way of doing math? Or do you think that if there is a doomsday emergency that math will kind of just go away? Because I don't think so at all. If you're going to be buying and bartering, you're going to need to keep track of inventory. You're going to have to keep track of the value of what you're getting compared to the value you're giving away. There's just, I feel like there's a reason why they've been using abacuses for centuries, right? So in the comment section down below, I want to know what your favorite item I talked about today was. I want to know how you feel about abacuses and math. And make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, because I want to make a lot more videos thinking outside the box. And I can't wait to see you on the next one.